Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Thomas Carrier, and I'm thrilled to introduce this event on behalf of my postgraduate diploma class. We are a class of 41 students from over 20 different nationalities, and part of our curriculum in our events class is to organize a real-life event. So I'd like to welcome everyone to this event called Kickstarting Your Career, How to Get a Job. So now I'll pass it off to Chloe. We'll be introducing our first guest speaker.
Hi, I'm Chloe. I'm also a PGD student here, taking part in this event. And so for our first guest speaker today, we have Miss Stefanie Thommen, who is actually the business group lead for Microsoft 365. To start, though, we're going to put up a slide on the screen with a mentee code, and we're going to ask you to show your opinion with that code as soon as we can see that. So as you can see here on the screen, we ask that everyone here participates and goes to mentee.com and enters the code 5587965, as you can see on the screen. And we just want to get your opinions before we start this event on some of the questions. All right, so thank you to everyone who participated in the mentee survey, and we are going to go ahead and move along with the presentations by Miss Stefanie Thommen.
Hello, everyone. So, what is the first question?
Hi, Stefanie. So our first question in this Q&A session is actually going to be asking you, how did you join Microsoft in the first place? And also, what are the transferable skills that are helping you to strive in your current position?
Okay, yes, sure. I'm in my third position currently at Microsoft, and I joined Microsoft when I was still at the university doing my master's. And this really happened. I mean, it was not planned at all, right? My background is in tourism. I did a bachelor in tourism. I worked in hospitality, and I moved to Zurich for my master's. And that's the only thing I had planned back then, just to do the master's. And I had no idea where I will work or where I will start my career. And then when I was doing my master's, I was just randomly surfing the internet, and I found a position at Microsoft. It was a working student, so it was part-time next to university. And I was like, okay, I can consider myself a marketing talent. And it is in Zurich, and it is 60%. Okay, I'm interested in tech, but I don't really know about IT, so just try. And I applied, and it turned out that the position was super interesting for me because it was in partner marketing. And it was a good position to start at a tech company because there was not a lot of technical knowledge needed for that. I mean, still, there is a lot of onboarding needed with the tech topics, but it was really a good opportunity for me. And yeah, you asked me what are the skills that helped me to make it to the current position. And yeah, also if I think a bit about the last 3-4 years, I think one of the most important skills also these days is adaptability. Things change a lot, and especially since last year, we all know many things changed. And I think this is the new normal, right? So company strategies change, products change, strategies, whatever. And it's very important to stay on top of these changes, but also personally to be ready to change and to be willing to change. Yeah, just to keep up. And this is important in tech, but this is also important in all the other industries, in my opinion, to be flexible and adaptable. And another skill I would consider as super important is really this, I call it endless willingness to learn. At Microsoft, we more call it a constant learning. But this is really, also coming back to a lot of things changing, new product innovations, new demand from our customers, new strategies, and maybe one day you are happy with your skills, but probably the next day you need to be prepared for the new reality. And it's so important also to just book time for yourself to learn and grow. And yes, I think that's super important, especially these days.
No, that's exactly what we've been talking about in our classes, just being more adaptable, especially in these times. And so then that leads us to our next question, which is, how does Microsoft enable collaboration, especially in the workforce like this one where everything's virtual and there might be a lack of team spirit or motivation? So how has that been seen in your current workplace?
Yes, so I mean, in the first place, we are a technology provider, right? You all might know that there are different products coming from Microsoft and also different products for collaboration. I think this is just the basics, right? To provide technology to customers and users. But then I think even more important, and also very important for us currently, is really how do we help customers, with stable business processes, also during crisis, to renew business processes, to train employees, to give them tips and tricks how to work remotely, and also to enable the customer to stay innovative during challenging times. And this is more difficult than just provide a technology platform, right? This is the easy part. But also what you said, right, is about emotions. And here I think we can also talk about team spirit. And one thing I see as important here is that some managers really have to rethink how they manage a team if everything is remote. So you cannot just measure time at work to decide if someone was successful or not. So you did your 8 hours, well done. This is quite difficult these days, and I think it's important to really give the right employee experience to the people, to measure success the right way. And there are certain small things you can do for all the team spirit, or I can share with you what we are doing. We have now introduced, for example, walking meetings. So that means that when you're busy with meetings from morning to the evening, you can go outside, and it is not needed that you have the screen in front of your face. You can just go with your headsets and walk, and people know you might be walking. This is important for the work-life balance, for not being at home in the same chair all day long. But also, what is important then in really important meetings is that you also turn on camera, that you use some fun stuff in your team meetings, right? Like background pictures. Like in Teams, we have now these live reactions where you can send thumbs up, where you can send GIFs. And here I think it's also up to the manager then to make a bit of space for private storytelling, for discussions, for regular checking with the team, also on some easy topics like an online apero or a lunch, that people still feel like they are part of a team and have a mission together. And here technology is only a part of the answer, right? It's a lot about leadership and how to lead a team in these days.
Exactly. And so you mentioned the example of how you guys are now doing like the walking meetings, so you don't have to necessarily be in front of a screen. But what are some other ways that like the working norms have changed in your business since going online?
Yes, so I mean, the most important thing to know, and most of us are aware, but right now, basically, if you are equipped with the right technology, you can work from everywhere you want. You are not depending on a place or a device or a laptop or whatever. You can just log in from wherever you are in New Zealand or in the US or in Switzerland. You are just there and you can find your latest content, the last updates, and all you need to work successfully. And I think here the working norms are changing, that more and more companies are like promoting that kind of work style with the employees, but still we have some companies that do not allow to work remote or from home. And here it also comes back how the working norms in the future look like, or what is needed to make people successful right now or in the next years. And I think the challenges we are facing currently are also how to find content, right? We have so many information experts that know a lot of stuff, but where can employees find all of this irrelevant information? This is one, but then also insights in personal behavior. So have I booked some focus time for myself, or do I have breaks planned throughout the day while working from home or in a different time zone? We learned that most people work more and more since they're at home. So the working hours are really increasing, not decreasing. And it's really important to also know for yourself that data shows me, hey, I work now 12 hours without a break, and maybe I want to plan something for tomorrow to have a lunch with my family. And also, I think very important is also the content and the assets you have available for your personal growth and development. So we are working a lot on making available this kind of resources to the employees, online, accessible to all the roles, sometimes tailored for roles, that you can find wherever you are on the planet. All the content you need for also your personal career planning. You're looking for a new role, or you still want to grow in your existing role, doesn't matter. But companies somehow need to make that accessible. Also, if you're not meeting a manager face to face every week, right? So this is important also then, for the whole talent discussion in the company.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And so before we wrap up, we have one other question for you. And that would be, from working at Microsoft, what would you or Microsoft as the company advise to improve the impact of remote learning at Les Roches? There's obviously been some issues as it started this past October, but we've slowly gotten more used to it. But if you have any advice on that, what would it be?
Yeah, it was so interesting to see, when COVID came, we got a lot of questions from customers, obviously, how we can help them overnight to set up an environment to work remote. And it was very interesting to see that many, especially education institutions like university school, were not ready for that. So the private customers were better prepared than education customers. And then overnight they want you to provide all kind of technology. And I think that's good. And I think one key element is to provide the right technology to all the students. But this is only the basics, right? And then obviously you need also to engage these students online. So you need also to create clarity, how does it work to have online sessions, what are the rules, what kind of tools do we use? If you don't know how to use, where can you find training? And often the basics are the challenge. So people at home do not have the right hardware or internet connection. And here you also, as an organization, maybe need to help the students to fix these basics in the beginning, right? So you all have a good experience when learning online. And I think here it's really important to be up to date. I mean, this is the whole digitalization topic, right? If you're not updating the tools and software use after 5 years, that's difficult, right? But if you're always up to date and provide good infrastructure to students, and also if the professors are ready for that, are ready to give good online lectures, I think this is also key to success. So technology is only the basics, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement. Thank you for your time, though. It was very interesting to hear what you had to say in the Microsoft business, and we appreciate you coming and speaking with our class.
Thank you so much.
And so following Miss Stefanie Thommen, our next speaker will be Miss Jillian Lana, who is an online job seeker coach. Hi, Jillian. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome, Chloe. Lovely to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
So I think we are going to start with your presentation, and then following the presentation.
Oh, I lost the sound there for a moment. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much for inviting me to come along. Today, I'm joining you from Australia, where it's very early in the morning, but that's part of this whole online working and part of having to adapt to the times and being ready for job interviews at any time. So I wanted to share with you a few little things that I've picked up through my work. I've been delivering workshops on different campuses and at especially at Les Roches in person normally for the past 15 years. And about 10 years ago, I had an idea, and I went along to at the time the CEO Sonia Tata and Matthew Mioch, who was a head of careers then, and said, "Hey, there's going to be more and more interviews on Skype, and maybe we should do a little bit of Skype interview coaching." And it was great because they took it on board. We had a pilot program that we had about 10 students, and that was 10 years ago. And it's funny now to look back and think, wow, that was the beginning of all this. I remember talking to a class and saying, how many people have had an interview on Skype? And there'd be like 2 that would put their hand up out of 30. And now you ask the same question, just up until last year, and it was the whole class that put their hand up. So now with COVID, that's all we're stuck with. So I'm really glad to now have this 10-year experience of working and training and coaching and helping people become confident online for their interviews, not only just for interviews for jobs, but also, as we've just heard, working remotely and, as you all know, just being comfortable online. So basically, I've always said, in any job search that you're going for, anything that you're doing, you have to create a strong presence for yourself. And whether that be online, on paper, or in person, those 3 things have to be congruent. To me, it's all about your presentation. So first of all, you're going to send your CV. How does that present? They're going to look at your LinkedIn profile. How does that present? Then they're going to see you either in person or in this virtual interview. So those things across the board have to be very strong. So never forget that. It's not just all about this online interview. It's all the build up before that and this whole presentation of you that is going to be very important. Okay, so let's jump into this. So before COVID, about 60% of hiring managers and recruiters used video technology. As I said, it had started to come in. But it wasn't just Skype interviews or just virtual interviews. Recruiters started to use different platforms, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But now, fast forward to today, and 80%, 86% of organizations will use these platforms or use online recruitment as part of their recruitment process. And it's a lot easier for them. There's a lot more candidates. As you all know, the jobs are out there, they're online. And so suddenly there's thousands applying for the jobs. And so they will use it as a sort of screening process in the first part of recruitment often. And there's many different platforms that they can use. There's about 10 or 11 excellent platforms, Spark Hire, HireView, that companies will use this platform to be able to screen the initial candidates. And that's what's called a digital interview, where actually you're not even being interviewed by a person. It's actually just recording you. So that's a whole new kettle of fish. On all the other ones we've got, and it could be on Whereby, it could be on Teams, it could be on Zoom, it could be on Skype. We're on StreamYard today. I've never used that before. And so, you know, there's another platform. And, you know, obviously Microsoft and all the different softwares, they all have their different platforms that everybody's using now. So whatever the platform, whether it's an actual digital interview and there's nobody there, or you're talking to a person, there are a few things that you really need to feel comfortable with to set yourself up in the best possible way. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to have that person-to-person contact, walking in, shaking a hand, sitting down, and having that, you know, you're suddenly just going to pop up in their screen like I've just done, and it switches back to Chloe and she pops up, and you know, yeah, and so you don't have that sort of breaking the ice and that sort of slower introduction. So here are a few points that I think are going to make you successful in an interview online, and a few of the mistakes that I've seen through all my different interview coaching. So first of all, obviously, your equipment is really important. A few mistakes that I see are people who do their interview on their phone or even an iPad. I would always have those there as backup, but your best piece of equipment is obviously your laptop, your computer, just because of the angle, basically. With a laptop, you can lift it up and have your eye-to-eye contact with the camera, which is your little green light. A lot of people look into the screen. If you can look at the camera, it makes a massive difference to the actual feeling that the person is going to get from you. So rather than looking at the person, which you tend to do in the screen, if you can try and look at the green light. I always say, think of newsreaders. You know, when they are reading the news, they're actually looking at a camera. They're just looking at a red light, and they're talking to that red light. So make sure that you understand that that green light is the person. If you want, get a little Post-it and cut a hole in it and put 2 eyes and a mouth over the camera, so you know that that's the person there, okay? But your equipment is really important, because a phone, an iPad is not going to give you that same angle to be able to be comfortable and just set yourself up properly in front of the camera. The room that you set yourself up in and the lighting, obviously really important. You're better off having a light that is coming from directly behind your camera, that's shining at you, rather than a side angle or coming down, which can give you dark shadows. It's just really important to light yourself in the best possible way at that point. And another thing that I see people making a mistake with, in the room, try and find a room that has a lot of soft furnishings. So carpet, curtains, cushions, because otherwise you can get a bit of an echo. So it's important that you get rid of that echo by having carpet or curtains or cushions. Do you know, sometimes I've been in a hotel room. I sometimes have to work whilst I'm traveling, and the room will be a bit echoey. So I will literally get the pillows from my bed and stick them around my computer, just so it absorbs the sound. A few little cheat sheets there. And also another thing that I found, if I'm working in a hotel and and you're not really in your own space. So it's difficult to set yourself up properly. And I have actually gone and got the ironing board out of the cupboard. And just why? Because you can lift and lower that table to the right height so that you feel comfortable and a good setup, rather than having it on a low table or just being in a weird setup. So the room you're in, the setup, the lighting, the height is obviously very important. The more comfortable, the more professional that you can look, is obviously going to make you feel more confident and more relaxed. At the end of the day, you just want to be yourself and be able to talk naturally and think about the interview questions. You don't want to be worrying about, you know, if you're looking good or if you're not putting yourself in the best light. Make sure that you plug in your device. Have extension leads if it's you know, a long way away from some plug, but I have a lot of people that have to get up halfway through and go and plug in their computer. Also, the programs on your computer, make sure that they're all shut down, because often you see people distracted, or I hear emails coming in or something pinging, or so shut down all your programs. Obviously, it's going to make your program run much better and have power. These sound a bit basic, but they're all things that happen, and you don't need these things happening during your interview. Another thing with your room, by the way, that I often see a lot of, make sure you shut the window, because if a lorry drives past or a dog starts barking, sometimes your microphone picks these up, you know, really loudly. And your internet connection, have a backup internet connection. Because sometimes it can drop out, but have your phone have a your personal hotspot that you can hotspot it to your computer, but try and have another internet connection there. That's something that's really important. Okay, so that's for all the sort of those technical things. Be tech savvy. And when I'm in my classes, if you know me, I'm very I have a big emphasis on making a first impression and walking in there and being tip top from the first moments. And they often say that within 10 seconds of entering a room, 50% of somebody's mind is made up about you. Well, online, we don't have that chance, do you? You suddenly pop up. So one thing that I advise you is always dress professionally, wear a darker color. If I took this jacket off now, you see the difference. If you just have a lighter frame around you, you will look stronger and sharper with a darker silhouette. And make sure that you look like, sounds a bit weird, but make sure that you look like your LinkedIn photo or your profile photo or your CV photo, because if you've changed a lot, then, you know, make sure that your photos, because I've got your CV and I can see you, I've looked at your LinkedIn profile, and then you don't look anything like it. So make sure that that's congruent as well, and make a strong first impression. You only have this space here to really stand out. So make sure that everything within that frame is very clean and sharp. And basically, you're going to look a bit like my laptop did recently. You're going to be amongst lots and lots of different candidates that are all just going to pop up like you. So just very quickly, and I'm sure these people won't mind me showing you these, but some of the setups that I see are very different. Okay, don't get too close. What's your background? Sit around arm's width away from your computer. Don't make sure that, you know, the side light here coming in at the side is not as attractive as if you have a full-on front light. Watch out for a backlight, because that is not putting you in a very good light. And as I said, with the darker color, make sure you're professionally dressed, and make sure that you see the difference here on this one. Brilliant. Look at these gorgeous girls, all, you know, sitting there with the good distance away. Always have headphones, because that really will bring your voice into the computer. Don't be too close, as I said before. Get some light on your face. It can really make all the difference. So that's with all your setup in the online interview. What does the interviewer look for? And how can I stand out in this virtual setting? Well, never forget, you might get all stressed about this online interview. It is an actual interview. And if you go back to the basics of what an interviewer is looking for, I love this chart because I think it sort of depicts exactly what is a recruiter going to be worried about? What is he going to be looking for? This is you in the middle. Me voilà, je me présente. You know, there you are. You've come in. You're feeling confident. You've sent your CV. You've got your interview. But what is the recruiter looking for? Okay, first of all, he's going to want to know, can you do the job? So are you addressing the criteria that were pointed out in the job ad, in the specifications of the job? Can you do the job? That's his worry. Another worry for him is, will you do the job? So your attitude, and these are what we call the soft skills, technical skills, knowledge, the soft skills, your attitude, how you are. I want to get a bit of a feeling from you through your communication, because the communication is also very important. How will you talk with my clients? How will you talk with the rest of our staff? I know the team, I know who they are, I know how they are and how they work together. Will you fit in? So through this interview, he's trying to find out these things. He's trying to decipher, do I get a good feeling from this person? Does he seem motivated? Does he seem interested? Does she sound enthusiastic? What will she be able to bring to the team? So that's why I think it's really important that you feel comfortable with your setup, with how you present, that you're confident that you have got everything right, so that then you can just go in and be yourself. Because at the end of the day, we want somebody who's just authentic, you're believable, you're genuine, I can relate to you, we can discuss. I don't want it to be awkward. And so I think understanding what the recruiter is looking for is a big part of succeeding in an interview. So can you do the job? Will you do the job? How well will you communicate with my team? And how well will you present? How well you're going to be part of our brand image. And this is why I talk about presentation too, because there was a very good, you watched obviously the masterclass or the webinar the other week from the UNWTO, and we had the wonderful Francois Delaroy, who was from the Dorchester collection, who talked about how the education of their employees was very important, and the soft skills, and how they present, and how they talk to the clients, and how they stand, and their posture. So obviously a recruiter is going to be worried about you, about how well will you represent their brand, because you will become a brand image of the company. So all those things a recruiter is going to be looking at. Those sort of things are going to be very important to him. So I think getting your head around that, feeling confident of how you're setting up, and speak clearly. That's another thing, very quickly, because I think I'm coming to the end of my time. But the way you speak online is very important. If you think you're speaking slowly, it's probably around the right speed, because there can be a lot of distortions. You can get an echo or reverb in the sound. So speak a little bit slower, and we all will have an accent, maybe, if we're speaking a different language. And so that's another reason to speak a little bit slower. Just out of interest, I've actually just put all my presentations that I have done over the years at Les Roches, I've put them into an online course, and there's one called Nailing First Impressions and Professional Presentation. But the Nailing First Impressions goes into the speed of your voice, and there's exercises of how to really regulate your voice so that you're speaking at a good speed that is clear and concise, because you want your message to come across clearly. And lastly, how do I stand out in a virtual setting? Well, it's by doing all those things. There's also an etiquette in a virtual setting. For the interview, if you have a time, make sure that you wait for that person to call you. I wouldn't be calling them. Sometimes they have a very tight schedule. So wait till it gets to 00, and then you just send a little text message and you say, hello, just wanted to let you know that I'm ready for the interview whenever you are. But don't just phone or call, because they could be in another interview. That's, something that's very important. And it's your communication, the little messages that you send, that are important. So the way you say that, sometimes I get people that just say, hey, I'm ready, or can we start? Which is, maybe a little bit abrupt when you've never met this person. So think about that. Think about how your messages sound, your communication in the chat boxes, that it's polite. And one last thing that I think is really important that very few people do, send them a little email afterwards, send a thank you note. Be good in your correspondence, reply quickly, and just thank them for their time and reiterate your interest. But I'm always blown away by how few people actually do that. So make sure, if you want to stand out, the little notes, the little things that you write that are polite, that you reply, and you thank them for the time, can really, really make a difference. So there you go. That's my few tips from what I've learned. I hope it's been interesting, and you've learned a couple of things. I think I always remember the slogan that Ray Kroc had from McDonald's, and he talked about location, location, location. Remember that one? Well, for me, it's presentation, presentation, presentation. It really is. It's on your CV, how it presents, your LinkedIn profile, how it presents, and then how you present. So it's having confidence in your own presentation that can, I think, really, be a game changer and make you really successful. So there you go. Oh, and a little last thing, this one is really good. Your smile is your logo, your personality is your business card, and how you leave others feeling after an experience with you becomes your trademark. To me, it's all about you and how you sell yourself. So there you go. That was my presentation. And I don't know if we have any questions now, or if we're going to wait till the end for that. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I know I find it very helpful. I've even done one of your online interview coachings, and it was very helpful. So thank you for that. And I just want to let the audience know that you can post all your questions on LinkedIn, and that we will be doing a Q&A session at the end for all panel speakers, where we will be asking your questions that you might have. And so thank you again for your presentation, and we are going to move on to our next speaker, who is Mr. Fabrice Tessier, and he's the VP School Relations and Partnerships with Accor. So thank you so much for being here, Mr. Tessier.
Thank you very much to you for inviting me, and hello everybody. So I'm a bit like the last minute guest, and I didn't answer very early to come back, but I was really eager to join you, and so I'm happy this afternoon to be here. Usually, yes, I come to Les Roches, and I visit you, yes, at least twice a year, and it's a real pleasure. And so this is very interesting session, and I was listening to Gillian and to Stefanie, and well, I was totally agreeing about Gillian was advising to you, and as a recruiter, as an employer, yes, we can talk a bit about also what we are expecting, what we are doing, and what is our expectation of the next step in the future, which is coming very soon. So as Chloe was saying, so I'm in charge of school relations and partnerships, and we are visiting about 50 schools a year with my team, and meeting, yes, 5,000 students. Those days we are not meeting, that's for sure, but we are having that experience, yes, distant experience, and it's something, yes, to carry on, to make progress about it. And as Gillian was mentioning, also for us, it's a new experience. So talking about Accor, if I may, yes, we had 3 phases. We had the first phases, which was the solidarity, and we had to react with talking and speaking and doing something for our employees and partners who were in difficulty. So we have created All Artist Fund, which has been implemented with the help of the shareholders, because in fact there was nothing has been shared last year, and we have kept 70 million euros in order, yes, to help our partners and employees who were in a difficult time. So at that time, now we have supported 55,000 employees, and we are still, yes, waiting some requests when they need and helping on that area, and that's something which is so important. Then we had to organize, after having closed three-quarters of our hotels, we are reopened, and then it was very important. So we have developed All Safe, which was a priority to become, yes, with security, safety, sanitary, yes, measures to be really deployed everywhere. And nowadays we have to develop new businesses and a new way of doing our business. Hospitality was presented as a blessed industry, and it is still now. It will be still tomorrow, but that is true. We have to open to new ways of doing, and that's an example which is yes, a coincidence, but with Stefanie, and it's important and it's good that you have invited her, because in fact, we have launched yesterday a program which is called All Connected, and in cooperation with Microsoft, which will develop in the future from all our hotels. In so many hotels, we have some meeting possibilities. We will launch the hybrid meetings, which will be with the help of that technology, still the way 2 persons to be really close, to have the 2 possibilities to have really hybrid meetings, which will be certainly a big evolution on tomorrow. And as well, developing also hotel rooms, office hotel, which will be developing in our rooms new facilities with changing the use, maybe to have some meeting rooms arriving, or offices in some rooms which are defined and changed. And also we have some co-working spaces with Wojo. So all those things are really important, yes, to develop and to think about. Talking about what is for you students is also there is a program. Maybe some of you has followed, has attended. We had a conference with Sébastien Bazin, our CEO, yes, 3 weeks ago now. And he presented a program where we want to develop support to students in order for them, yes, to come back to our hotels, even if those days we have a very low occupancy rate, and we want to support. And it will be part of the All Artist Fund. It will be funding some support to internships. So in the hotels, if, of course, the hotel is open, if there is supervisors and managers who are ready to welcome and to mentor, yes, interns, and if it is not a position for replacing an employee who is furloughed or who has been terminated when it happens, it will be really a real program for interns. In that case, if the hotel has a difficulty to finance, in that way, this fund will come from Accor office, from Accor corporate, in order to support. So that will open some possibility. You are asking about what are the job opportunities those days, of course. So what we can see now and what we can see in the future, and the next session of internship, I would say, there are some few things to think about. We will have less international opportunities. This is for sure, because today, yes, borders are closed, and there are so many differences between one country to another, and conditions are changing from one day to another. Yes, this is not something that we can rely on. So clearly, it means that nationally or close to your home country, this is where you have to focus your search, either for internship or for a job. But meaning that, as an example, if you study in Switzerland but you are Chinese, when you go back to China, there are opportunities. Definitely there are. So for international opportunities, those days, well, we have in Emirates, that is true, with Dubai, which is welcoming. So this is still, and it will happen. But for the other countries, closer opportunities are something to give priority. That's for sure. In the fact of also, what do we look when we are hiring? In fact, what do we look to? And it's interesting what Gillian was mentioning about presentations. That is true. So I won't repeat what she said, but we have all the parties of competencies, and you have to be. And in hospitality professionals are really fantastic, because you are like a Swiss knife. You are like a Swiss knife. You have many different competencies which can adapt to different situations and to different departments, and that's very useful. That's very useful for us, because two things. There is smaller teams in the hotel those days, and for the weeks or the months to come, definitely. So you have to be multi-competent. That is true. And also, as we all know, new competencies are requested, expected, and new jobs will come. So in terms of competencies, you are in a good school, you are developing different competencies. That's very good. On the other side, about the soft skills, it's so important. We were talking about presentation, and it's not easy for you. We can see it's not easy for you to adjust to the video conference, also to the CV, which is a Visio CV. I asked, yes, because we want, as a recruiter, we want also to change the way, which is a bit traditional, yes, of the CV, motivation letter, reference letter, It's a bit boring, and we have a lot. When we ask for a CV on video, it's really difficult. You guys, students, it's not easy. You do some Insta, which are fantastic stories and so on. But when it is something to build a video for an employer, a bit more stressed out. And please do it, because you know the tools, you know how to make it, because you make it for your friends, you make it for fun, so you can make it. And I do agree about the fact of your personality is so important for us, and even more distantly, because distantly we don't have the same way of meeting you and feeling what is your energy, how do you imagine that you will be in the job, and so on. Yes, there are a few things. Yes, you have to be present, you have to be consistent. That is true. Consistent between, we were talking, and Gillian was talking about the picture. So true. On LinkedIn, it is professional picture that you must put. And yes, and consistency between when we will see you on screen and when you are on the picture on LinkedIn. So important. Also, of course, yes, politeness, about, yes, the way to express yourself will be even more important distantly. And of course, your enthusiasm. We have, as a recruiter, distantly is not easy to feel it the same way than when we meet you. We have to feel that you see your name on the door of the position. You see your name on the door of the hotel. It is simple, but it is so important. And okay, if you're a bit too much, the recruiter will tell you. But be yourself, express yourself, show that you want the job, that you really have thought about it. Homework, preparation, so important as well. It's really something that maybe if you know the job, what you can know about the job, what you can know about the company, what you can know about the person that you will be meeting. Because with LinkedIn, it's so easy those days. Talking about LinkedIn, also few things, not 1 out of 10 students asking to be connected to a professional is putting a note. Why? It's not so difficult. It's LinkedIn is asking you, please add a note, you will have a better feedback. Of course. And I can tell you, I have a lot of requests, and 1 out of 10 is putting a word which is, hello, I met you, I saw you, I'm interested in your company, whatever, something which is personalizing. Because you have to speak out. This is so important those days where it is difficult to find an opportunity to speak out, to be identified. And of course, you can, as I mentioned, make a CV video, work well on your LinkedIn, of course, your resume, ask for recommendations from your previous tutors, in the mentors, persons you worked with. It's so extraordinary that you have somebody talking of you and saying what you know, what you're good at to a potential employer. It's so easier than when you have to convince. Okay. And so those things, you have worked hard in a position before, so that's something that you can have the benefit of and ask. And of course, we as employers, we will comment, we will also mention some competencies that you have, and it will help definitely. I can tell you, I look always to the profile on LinkedIn of the candidates, and of course, it is a way for you to put something more personalized than on the resume. So you can put what you like, what you have developed. If you have some videos, if you have some experience, if you had some volunteer actions, such a thing. And don't worry, you won't have to be you don't have problems, because those days it's so difficult to have an internship. We employers, we recruiters, we know that you are facing difficulties. So try to still learn things that you will want to use in the future, in digital, in CSR, in many aspects, maybe in well-being, because all those things will be important in the tourism of tomorrow, definitely. Also, do that, do some volunteer work, of course, this is very important. And of course, also find yourself. Gillian was talking about, yes, be confident. That is true. Be confident, be proud of yourself, and identify what are your odds. It's so important. I can tell you, one student of Les Roches, Marbella, I met in November, and 15 days after, she was in Dubai. 15 days, 3 weeks after, she was in Dubai. Well, she had an experience in front office. She speak Arabic. She was studying, yes, in a good school, and she was flexible. And that's so important those days when you're looking for something. Okay, you are willing to, and you are flexible. You would like something, and you are ready to different things. And then, okay, make things happen. Be reactive, and it can, of course, happen. And you will see her on LinkedIn. She's very active also, because that's also something. When you can comment, like, and post maybe things, you are visible. And that's so important for us, that you express yourself. So when we discover more of your personality, we see, okay, we can see you in that position, in that place, because you have shown interest, you have shown way to express yourself, and that those things are so important. So Alia et Debab, you will remember, and you will look at her profile, and also to see how it can happen. Different for everyone, but you have to assess for yourself how to promote, what are your odds, and you have, so use it, I would say.
No, that's great advice. Thank you so much.
Sure.
And so we are going to move on to our panel Q&A session now with all of the potential speakers.
Well, it's really good to be here. I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Bilal Hassan. I'm the senior lecturer at Les Roches. So first of all, really congratulations to our wonderful students for hosting this virtual masterclass. It's really great to have people from Paris, from Zurich, and from Sydney together in one time zone, in one screen. So thank you, all of you. I had a very intriguing question while I was listening to all of you. When we hear Stefanie from Microsoft, we're talking about a tech company, processes, hardware, software, technical knowledge. And then we are talking about Accor, people, emotions, soft skill, etiquette. But here we are seeing Accor using Microsoft's teams within hotels to enable people to have connections. And we are seeing Microsoft needing people to have those people management collaboration skills. So Accor needs Microsoft and Microsoft needs Accor. So basically there's no boundary now. We're talking about, the COVID has really pushed all those boundaries away now. So my question to, first of all, starting from Juliana and then leading to Stefanie and Mr. Tessier is really, how can we prepare our students to that world without boundaries, where there is no tech industry or hospitality industry or financial industry? Everything is same. How can we prepare them? Can I ask Mrs. Lana maybe to start from a coach point of view?
Sorry, you cut off there. I didn't hear very well. Could you just repeat the question? Sorry.
So the question was really how Les Roches can prepare students in that borderless world where Accor needs Microsoft skills and Microsoft needs hospitality skills, and then it's us. So what should we teach?
Well, I think it's just, I think you're doing a great job at Les Roches. I think you have, with all the new innovation lab and all the, different programs that you're starting there, and I've loved being a part of all the digital interviews and getting people used to being online and being able to talk online and being comfortable and being able to sell themselves online. So I think it's just having a wide vision and touching on all these subjects, bringing them into the curriculum and letting people be innovative and entrepreneurial and creative, and to just open their eyes to everything that is there, and to be able to, bring them all together like you're doing today. It's fantastic, with Accor and Microsoft and mine with, just the skills of you, the person, you being in that world, and how you can best sell yourself and fit and feel comfortable in that world. So I think you're touching on the harder technical side of things, and you're touching on the soft skills and the actual person. And I think Les Roches does a great job with that already. That's my opinion.
Thank you. And if I can ask Stefanie, would you hire someone from Les Roches with pure hospitality skills to work in tech industry?
Yes, I mean, I think I'm the best example that this is actually possible. So I would give you advice not to think too much inside a certain industry, or if you have studied tourism, it does not mean that you will work your lifelong in tourism. If you want, that's good, right? But you can always change your focus. But I think in the end, the industry is not so important, because the skills are more or less everywhere the same, right? I think what I mentioned beginning with adaptability, constant learning, be open for new things, for change. This is so important in many of the industries that are leading, right? And to answer the question, definitely we could also hire someone from with a different background. So that's happening many times. So definitely possible.
Thank you. And Mr. Tessier, just to add on to that question, how far we can go with tech? So we can have teams connected, hybrid, but how far can we go? Where is the line when we have to make sure it's
No, you're right. You're right, Bilal. This is a very important question, and I'm thinking we have because those last days we have launched a program which is no key with no key, which is a program where you will receive everything on your mobile phone before getting to the hotel, and I was wondering how it will happen and where will be the contact. Because our life, I would say, in our hospitality industry is there. It is at the check-in. It is when you need to interact, to meet people, and this is the added value. Well, we have some hotels where everything is automatic, and it's okay, but in very economic aspect. But when you like hospitality and to stay longer and have some leisure, and we are talking about lifestyle hotels, which is so popular those days and very popular for students as well. The contact, the fun, and the atmosphere, it's key. So that's where we have to think about. And of course, digital helps for reservation, for check-in, check-out, fast check-in, fast check-out, and for automatic things. I think that it will help. It is helping, and it will help more and more. And then we have to select and to know, to be specific about how to promote that relations and to promote those moments where there will be the most quality in interaction. As an example, yes, in the check-in, there are two parts. And there is one part which is very sad, where the receptionist is looking to the screen and trying to find if you are well booked and if you have your room. When you are on the other side, yes, of the desk, you are stressed out. Will this person will find my name? And on the other side, it's all the welcoming, which is at that moment of the check-in where you feel the atmosphere of the hotel, and step by step you are less losing the all the tiredness of your trip, because you're feeling in the atmosphere of the hotel and feeling good because you are well welcome. So those things are to be thought and worked out, and yes, made for the magic of a stay in a hotel. Yes, true.
Excellent. As you just said,
as well for the students, because they're coming to hospitality because of that, I guess.
When people meet, this is when magic happens. So we can use technology in the back house to facilitate our connections in the front house. True. So I think it goes hands in hands. Really great. Thank you very much. Another quick question to anyone. How can we create or replicate emotions digitally? What would be your take on that? So when we meet, we have five senses. We have the handshake, we have the eye contact, the smile, the surroundings, the feelings. How do I do that now? What would you suggest? Anyone?
Well, if I could just grab that one, because actually I've seen a question that's just been in the list here on the side that also is a little bit the same, and it says, what would you say is the difference between a remote interview and an in-person interview? And really, it touches on that point, Bilal, is that it's the contact, isn't it? It's the whole contact and the emotion that is not the same thing, that you can't get that feeling. And I actually adhere to what Fabrice said before about, it's the little message that you send on LinkedIn, and it's putting up a little video CV or something that is more you, that is more alive. It's really embracing the digital world and using it to be able to showcase your personality in a way. It's the contact with the person and being able to communicate better through a little message that you send on LinkedIn or through an email to thank somebody. Or it's really important, the communication nowadays, because you don't have that, just backslapping and, relaxing. And so I think it's just being able to be comfortable with digital so that you can just be yourself and have a bit of a laugh. And if you're having a presentation or you're having a webinar, just being so relaxed with the whole technological side of things that you can just be yourself, and remember to communicate and send a little message and keep up with that, because often when there's a silence, we don't know what to think. And so I think for me that's very important.
Thank you. And that goes to what Mr. Tessier said earlier, etiquette. So I think we should keep the etiquette. It doesn't, it's not because it's virtual, it's less etiquette. The smile,
Absolutely.
the politeness, everything.
True. And the technology, but technology, as you said, Stefanie, okay, technology is bringing us also a lot of opportunities. As an example, yes, for those meetings, with the hybrid meetings that we're going to organize, it will be with more quality because Microsoft has put some surfaces which are incredible, yes, with so many possibilities and such a thing. So it will also help us to develop new businesses. So that's really important.
And if I can just add something, what Stefanie was saying before, when you had your walking meetings, you're trying to get rid of this sort of static, oh my God, in front of the camera, and you're trying to make it relaxed and just everybody, can just relax a little bit more and be themselves and create that emotion by, varying things and bringing in a different technology that allows that, I believe.
Excellent. So I think I'm just going to hand the floor to Chloe because we got plenty of questions from the audience. So Chloe, please continue.
So one of the first questions we're going to ask is just an open-ended question to all three of you. So any of you can answer, and all of you answering would be great. But one of the things as students were wondering is, as we're all postgraduate students and we're all about to graduate or will be doing the MBA and graduating shortly after, what is something that you did or that you did not do at the start of your job search out of graduation that you wish you would have? So something that you regret. Anyone can take it.
It's not so easy. I have to think about it first. So in my case, I mean, I was with the company during my master's, and the question was if I can get a full-time position or not. So I had to do a lot of internal, let me call it marketing, and influencing of some people that I will get the opportunity to stay in the company. And as it worked out for me and I got the position, I'm happy with what I have done back then. So I cannot talk about what I should have done differently.
Understandable. If there is nothing that
I would talk about taking responsibilities, and it was one priority. Taking responsibilities, whatever was the activity. I was not looking for the standard, for the number of stars or such a thing, but it was getting into the company and then be able to manage a team. That was really one topic: manage a team, be in responsibility in front of guests and such a thing in order to grow, and then also to go abroad. To go abroad was really a priority, and to be out of the comfort zone, and of course, yes, that was something which helped a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Now that makes sense. It's the same for me. And Ms. Lana?
Well, I just think it's really important to be very open, and especially nowadays, I think it's just very important to be open to whatever possibilities are there. Don't close doors. I sometimes want to ask people, what do they want to do? They have a very fixed idea, and I don't want to do that, or I'm going in for this job, but I want to have my own hotel. So, but go and do a management training with somebody, because you never know what's going to happen, and you might actually go and do that for 2 years, and actually, you might absolutely love Accor that you did your management training with, and you might not want to open your own hotel afterwards. So my sort of advice, and I think something that I took with me, is to be curious and to be open, because you open as many doors as you can, and don't be fixed in exactly what you want to do, because tomorrow changes, and in 6 months, as we all know, the world has changed. So just be open to opportunities, and get your foot in the door and work your way up. It doesn't mean it's forever. I think the most important thing is just to go with the flow and be adaptable, and doors will open. You will meet people, and actually your opinion that you have now might change. So I think, to me, I think I think that's very important, to be curious, be open, and sort of look at the bigger picture, I think.
No, that's great advice. And so for our next question, it's going to be for Ms. Thommen. And one of our students asked, what do you think were some of the challenges you faced with working from home? And could you maybe share some examples of how to stay productive?
So I think it is really depending on the company and on the culture what the challenges were. It can be very different, right? So for us, I can maybe share a bit. We have already worked in a hybrid setup, so it was always possible to work from home or to work from a different city or wherever you want. But then we still had these weekly meetings when everyone came to the office and you did see each other, I would say, on a regular basis. And this was then not there anymore, right? And I think the challenge was really also for the manager to keep the team together, to make sure everyone still has priorities, and also to support some people with organizing their work day. Also thinking about people who have now kids at home and just cannot send them to school and cannot work from 8 to 5, and really had to make sure that these people are still included. They can do work a bit later or start earlier. And it was very important to be flexible and to have regular connections. And also to stay focused, what I also saw in the question, I think this is up to ourselves to make sure we organize our day also when we work from home. You know, you have your break, then you're cooking, eating, and then you go back to work as you would be in the office. Because otherwise, what happened to me is I found myself at work at 10 in the evening or at 11 without realizing the day is over. And then I was super tired the next day. And, you know, it's really also up to us. And if you are not allowed in the company, you know, to plan your day, you need to talk also to the manager how they can make sure that you are able to do your work in the best way possible, right? Also with the new situation.
No, that makes sense. And Mr. Tessier or Ms. Lana, if you have anything else you'd like to add on to this question, it can be open-ended for anyone.
Madame?
You want to add something, Fabrice, or?
Maybe, but after you, please.
Okay. Yeah, well, I totally agree with Stefanie. I think it's so important to structure your day, you know, and I think I have this thing on my wall and I put get up, get dressed for the office, you know, and really for me, that's important because I feel that, you know, I have my routine that I get into, and I sit at my office and then I'll go and have my coffee break, and you sort of have to make your structure and don't too much, you know, go for a walk, you know, and remember not to, because we're so switched on all the time. It's, you know, you got your emails coming in on your phone. It's just all these devices that you can be contacted all the time. So I think it's very important to, you know, get up, get dressed, you know, don't just live in your pajamas all the time. And I'm actually, you know, going to put up a post on LinkedIn one of these days, but, you know, from pajamas to professional, you do psychologically, I think you feel better if you know, just have a shower and put your makeup on. Well, not Fabrice, but, you know, you know, get dressed and get ready and feel presentable and structure your day. To me, you know, I think that's very important. And for you guys who are going out looking for work, you know, create a little routine of every day going on your LinkedIn, liking some posts, making some comments, perhaps thinking of making a post, checking out different jobs within your department, the job that you're looking for. Look at the different jobs there. Look at the key competencies that they're looking for. You know, start making Excel sheets with these competencies. Have a look at your background of what you've done, but really structure your day around your job search, but in the same way. And just get organized in that by doing a bit of LinkedIn, a little bit of adapting your CV, some networking, writing messages and contacting people on LinkedIn, researching companies. There's so much you can do in that job search instead of just sitting, I haven't got a job, or just being, letting yourself go. Think of it as a job, finding a job, if that makes sense.
Yes, I totally share. Yes, and it's not easy, I guess, because day after day, week after week, month after month, it's yes, it keeps structured and find the discipline, and also when you are following some classes, I know it's not easy for you students, and sometimes I'm I'm giving some classes, and wow, I have to fight so much for asking to the students to switch on the camera, and I know that it is an effort now because you want to be relaxed, you want to do something else, and and so on. Still, it's important. It's your image, it's you, and with the professor, and also it forces you to be more professional, to switch on the camera, and also you follow better because of course when you are laid off and you can do anything, you don't follow the same way. So force you to be professional, and it will help you also to go further and and that is true to be a structure and to make more things. And tomorrow, and this is also a question for the work from home. It is the companies will have to be more flexible. At the office, those days it's really difficult to go there, so we go once or twice a week, depends of people, and it is 10% of our teams we are going to the office. But tomorrow, definitely, persons will ask to have more time at home. So I think it will be 1 or 2 days a week. That's what they are expecting and saying to us. And maybe not to go to office in the big cities when you are having a long time for transportation. So also that's why we develop also the business of working close from home and not at the office. Also to have those kind of meeting or co-working areas and such a thing. But in our industry, this is not easy. I was discussing with GM yesterday, and for him, it was an issue because tomorrow, maybe the administration of the hotels will ask for having that work from home. And somewhere, this is not equality. This is not justice with the teams who cannot do that, who cannot work from home because they are in front line. And of course, they will expect as well from the support teams to be there as well, to answer to their questions and to be on the same level. So there will be also a topic about that.
No, I agree with all of that. So then for our next question, before we wrap up a little, we have another one for Ms. Lana. And this student was asking, what is the main difference between in-person and remote interviews, and how have the requirements changed? And what would you say are the 2 most common mistakes which should be avoided?
Well, I think it was sort of along the same lines of the answer that I gave to Bilal about it's the contact. It says it in person and remote. It's that actual person-to-person contact. And as Fabrice was saying before, in person, we can feel somebody's enthusiasm and we can see their motivation so much more. So I think that is something that you really have to work on. I see it in my interview coaching. You can really get a sense of somebody who is more motivated, or they're more relaxed and they're able to have just an easier contact with you. And that is through, the timing of somebody's email, the little message that they send you afterwards to say thank you, or you create a contact in that way remotely. And so I think, the difference is definitely the emotional side of it that you have to really work on to be able to make that difference. And so that we can sense your motivation, that you want that job and that you really want to work for this company, and you've researched them and you're asking questions. Because I think it's very important in a remote interview to have your questions, because we can't sense your motivation maybe through your body language that we can't see as well. So make sure that you have questions, and to go back to his what are the mistakes? I think it would be the ones that don't do that, the ones that are just answering the questions. That's it, and we don't get any of this sort of rapport that we can sense in a normal in-person interview. So it would be really to work on those skills and to just be yourself and be authentic and just relax and be yourself and be able to try and bring those emotions that we can't see in person through the digital sphere. And to me, that's all about, if you set up well, if you feel good because you've got dressed and and I think all those things make a big difference in how you perform or how you come across to somebody else. And this is why I've always enjoyed doing the interview coaching with you guys at Les Roches, because unfortunately for you, I film it and and I send you the video, and but it's interesting to see yourself. How do I come across? How do I sound? Can I even understand myself? How did that answer sound? It's a really important part of this digital you that is now becoming the norm. So yeah, that would be my answer for that. I hope that's answered the question.
No, it did. Thank you. And then finally, we have one other question from Mr. Tessier. And that is, when searching for a new role, would you recommend calling hotels and companies to find out about opportunities, or would you mainly recommend focusing on the career sites such as LinkedIn?
Sorry, can you repeat? I didn't get it. The sound was not so good. Sorry.
Yeah. And so it's on the bottom of the screen as well.
Yes, sorry. You're calling hotels. So it's we're searching for a new role. Would you recommend calling hotels and companies? Those days, it's really special. What to do today? Today there are two elements. There are, yes, on the career sites, you have to look to put some alerts and to be awake on it, and because it appears, that is true. Then there is the other side, which is of course your network. Your network has to be aware about what you're looking for. So of course you have to mention it clearly on your profile. You have also the persons that you met before, you appreciated working with, has to know where you are, what you're looking for, and that it won't be bothering people. It is important for them to keep you in mind and in their mind. They want to help you, they want to support, and of course, because you worked with them and they know what the situation, so they will want. But you have to express yourself, to be present, and to express, to say hello, and to say where you are, what you do, and that you keep in contact, and such a thing. As well, you can do some spontaneous requests or applications. As an example, of course, when there are some openings. There are still openings. The owners have engaged a lot of money and investing, and so they want to open. And we know, because in our hotel, sometimes we say, well, if we can wait a bit, and calculations are very precise in order to say, do we open, don't we open? And they want, of course, to open, even if there is slight business. If there is 10, 15% occupancy to grab, they want to. And so it means that when you see an opening which is not so far from your home country or home city, where you can go, okay, you can apply spontaneously. Okay, that is a point. Also, coming before summer, it will be for leisure. What we hope and what we think, it will, in the resort areas, it will reopen, and it will open opportunities. So targeting on those part of the market, not sending to everyone, but targeting on those part of the market which must move at first will help you and make sense. Of course, I know many colleagues, and sometimes I skip one mail, it happens, and sometimes, well, some colleagues also don't answer. But that's important. Every morning to wake up with good enthusiasm. Don't give up. This is a marathon. This is a marathon, and you will make it. You will make it happen, and it will be. We need you, students, and of course there is this period, but of course it's starting again from part to part, from different places, and that's where you have to be. That is true. You have to be vigilant. Yes, look at it, and of course, yes, asking. Of course, it's don't think that it's too much. Okay, it's normal that you ask, and we want you. We want to know where you are, and some will answer, some won't answer, but of course, be there, and also, as I mentioned, on the social media, make things, put things, what you have done, what you like. It's really important. It's really important, I would say.
Yeah, I have to just add something in there. Absolutely, be proactive. Be proactive and communicate and let people know where you're up to. And we're missing that. We're not in person anymore. We can't meet up with people for a coffee or in the evening for a beer and we're chatting about be proactive, chat to people, let them know what's been going on. Just send them a little message, how you doing, or Happy New Year, or I just wanted to, but people, I think you sometimes think that you're bothering people. You're not bothering people. There's nothing wrong with sounding motivated. There's nothing wrong with having energy and being proactive. Don't think you're bothering people, but not, but just be the person that goes out there and contacts and take the initiative. That's showing that motivation and enthusiasm for companies like Accor. They want people, and they'll keep you in mind if you contacted them. There's nothing like a little message, for sure.
No, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And then we actually have one other quick little question for Ms. Lana. Some of our students were wondering, what do you think about the blurred background function for Teams when you're doing an interview?
Do you know, it's funny. Most of the platforms now have the backgrounds that you can just drop in, and I noticed it the other week when I was doing some interviews, and the students were located, in Korea and in Russia and Germany, and they all had the same room. And at first I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. They're all in the same room, but I think a lot of them are much better now. Initially, I think those backgrounds that they dropped in made you look like some kind of weird cutout figure that was a bit stiff in the front. But I think they're a lot better now. There's some, a little room with a plant and a little lamp in the background. I think the blurriness, it does my head in a bit, to be honest. With the one that's blurry and then you're just this focused figure in the front. To me, it's a bit, I'd prefer just to see a picture or something, visually more pleasing than just blur in the background. I don't know what do you think about that, Stefanie? You're from Microsoft. I mean, maybe you've talked about this. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the question is always, what is it you want to hide in the background? Sometimes probably it's better to have a background picture, especially if you have something. I mean, if you don't want to show all your private stuff at home, right? It probably is better to have a background picture. But I would really give the advice to have a professional picture. I had an interview like 2 weeks ago, and the lady I was interviewing, she had The Simpsons. And I asked her why she has The Simpsons, and she could not tell me. She was just like, "It's a funny picture." It was a good start of the discussion, but I was asking myself all the time, why does she now have The Simpsons?
Focusing on that.
Yes, I was really focusing on that, and that was not so good. But you could also really have something that speaks for your personality in the background, as you can upload the pictures you want, right, or a logo or whatever, and then I think it makes sense, right?
And I think if you're working from home, to be honest, I would set up a little corner in your bedroom or anywhere, but that is just lit nicely, and that you can just go there anytime, so that if you are in a class online and they say, oh, who would like to switch the camera off, you're in a place where you look good. You're not lying on your bed, or you've got all your kitchen or the things I see in people's backgrounds is amazing. People lying in beds and, drink bottles and kitchens and, so, I mean, just set up a little corner. You back yourself up against a wall. It doesn't have to be a big space, but that's your little corner for when you're on camera. And you can know that if in the drop of a hat, you can just go there, switch your camera on, and you're fine. So to answer the question, I think the blurred backgrounds are okay. They're sometimes a bit weird, but if you can actually have natural light and your own little setup, then I think that adds more of you as a personality rather than having to suddenly jump in and put Simpsons or some blurred thing behind you.
True. And that's what I wanted to say, because yes, as you mentioned before, Gillian, it's a part of your personality. Of course, if you go for an interview, you have to prepare. You prepare yourself and you prepare your background as well. It will be your image, it will be your personality, and you cannot feel the person, but you can express things differently. And this is part of, I remember I didn't have the Simpsons, but I had one time Pulp Fiction poster behind the candidate. Well, it was a message, it was something. And that is true. And if it can be professional, but you can, with Teams, it's fantastic. You can put any picture you want, so it can stay professional. You can put an hotel behind you. You can take a beautiful picture of a hotel or something, which can be something where you express yourself. And that's important, true.
Yeah, and it's the same as on your LinkedIn profile. You've got your profile picture, but then you've got that big background bar at the top.
Absolutely.
Put some beautiful restaurant or some beautiful hotel or some city skyline or something that depicts who you are. And, it says that's a little bit more about your personality. But absolutely, Fabrice, your background says a lot about you. And when I'm looking at somebody's messy room, I'm already sort of making a bit of a judgment, and I shouldn't, but it tells me that you haven't even been bothered to kind of think about your setup. And what does that tell me about how you work? Or, it's tiny, but in this digital world, yes, you have to think about that for sure.
That's true. Hello, Thomas.
Hello. So
we lost Chloe. We got Thomas.
Yeah, Chloe's gone. I was just gonna wrap up the entire event. So we're done with the questions, and I just want to thank you all so much again for joining us, Miss Thommen, Miss Lana, and Monsieur Tessier. It was an absolute pleasure, and you guys gave really useful knowledge and advice. And I just want to wrap up the whole event with a quote from Oliver Holmes. And he says, "The greatest thing in the world is not so much where we stand as in what direction we are moving." So it was all really good advice for our future careers. And I want to thank the PGD team as well for putting this event together. And thank you for watching.
It's been a pleasure to be part of it. Thank you for inviting me, and I've really enjoyed the discussion, and it's been, lovely to hear from Fabrice and Stefanie too, and well done PG team. I think it's a great event. It's very apt. I think you got a nice selection of people. I've really enjoyed being a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting also for me, and thank you for inviting and sharing all together. And hope to meet you soon.
Yeah, I hope so too. I really hope so too.
Thanks for organizing. And in case you have any questions, you can find me on LinkedIn. Feel free to drop questions to me. And have a great evening.
Thank you. You too.